welcome back to another great episode of the Doctor to Doctor podcast. And guess what? We have a big surprise for you. One of our favorite guests is back, Dr. Colton Jones. And we are talking about research. Yes, you have guessed it right. So, if for those who don't know, Dr. Colton Jones is a big name, superstar in the research in the research domain. And so, if it is that you had watched our last episode, we actually spoke about GLP-1s and how it's fighting cancer. And he is now performing great research, impacting many lives on the global stage. And for those who don't know, let me just inform you. So, he is from the University of the West Indies, a trained physician and a rising cancer researcher, currently completing his hematology oncology fellowship at the University of Texas Health Science Center at San Antonio, where he works with Mays Cancer Center. A graduate of University of the West Indies, he completed his internal medicine residency at Einstein Medical Center of Philadelphia before transitioning into oncology research. His work now focuses on how metabolic therapies, particularly GLP-1 receptor agonists, may influence cancer risk and prevention, contributing to emerging global conversations on the future of oncology. In one sentence, I'm on big research on oncology and impacting lives with cancer research. Did I get it right, Carlton?
You got it right, Shakil.
All
Thanks for
right.
having me.
I'll make sure I represent my friends well. So, Carlton, thank you so much for joining us again, man. I really appreciate you just taking time out of your busy schedule to just be here with us.
Good to be here, man. Excited for another podcast. Excited for the questions and excited to share knowledge. So
Right.
yeah.
Well, thank you, man. So today we're actually going to be breaking down research. You're now on, news interviews. You are now impacting lives on a great scale, and it's really because you have mastered the art of research, and it's a skill that you have really poured your heart, soul, blood, sweat, tears into. And so I know it can be very intimidating for a lot of people. They hear research and like, oh my gosh, and they start to worry. But I know for you who have ran the gauntlet, I just want you to kind of simplify that. So, with starting, what just simply can you define research, especially in the medical terminology?
Yeah. So research in the field of medicine is basically a process by which we design a study to get results based on it can be an outcome, it can be a
Mhm.
complication, etc. Um, the idea of research stems from really healthcare needs
Mhm.
and us as physicians wanting our patients to have better outcomes. And this is not just in cancer, this is also widespread through every single field. All of the guidelines that we have, all of the things that we do in terms of practice as doctors, it comes from research. These things have been studied. We give
Mhm.
antibiotics to patients who have sepsis or infections because we know that it works and it came from research. So
Right.
research is really the foundation of the medical guidelines that we currently have today and the guidelines that we use to practice medicine.
Mm. Yeah. It's funny that you say that everything that we do as physicians is based on research. You're totally right. So, was research always a part of your plan as a physician?
No, it was not. In fact, I recall at UWI, I actually had a strong distaste for research. It was something I did not understand. It was something I couldn't grasp, and because
Mhm.
I wasn't actively involved in it in terms of participating in a study or a clinical trial, I just found it very hard to grasp as a concept. And it
Right.
wasn't until I entered a residency and I was actually plunged into doing research with a few of my residents, co-residents, and some of the attendings there that I understood not only the importance of it, but the impact that it can have not only on you as a physician, but also on the patients that you're managing. And so for me, it then became very interesting and fascinating. And really now it's my hobby. It's something that I love to do.
it's your hobby, and I
Yeah,
can imagine how fun it is to be paid to do something that you love.
exactly. Exactly. There's no greater feeling. Yeah.
Ah, I can imagine. So now, if someone is intimidated by research, as you said, most people start off that way. What is the first thing that they should start focusing on before delving into the art of research?
Yeah. So knowing and knowledge is key,
Hmm.
but also having an amazing teacher, somebody that you can rely on, is equally as important.
Hmm.
So, in order to get the knowledge, you can try to self-teach yourself. That's
Hmm.
quite difficult. But if you
Hmm.
have somebody on your side, as a teacher, as a mentor that can take you through the step-by-step process of how to conduct it, it actually makes it easier and more fascinating and enjoyable.
Hmm.
And I equate it to, just maths in high school. Some people love it, some people hate it. But when you
Hmm.
get it, you love it and it sticks. Same thing with research. If you have that great teacher to simplify it and make it fun, it
Hmm.
then becomes exciting. And so you really need that great mentor to simplify things and make it exciting.
Hmm. Okay. So you had made a parallel of math in school. No, let's simplify it,
Yeah,
right? Sometimes you have to know arithmetic before you can go to calculus, or
yeah,
right?
exactly,
And I know
exactly.
some people are looking at like, what is this? Right? So
Yeah.
let's try and simplify it. For somebody, say, doctor, new resident,
Hmm.
starting clinic, how do they? What is the first step? Yes, in terms of yes, mentorship and guidance, but
Hmm.
can you simplify the steps in regards to getting better at research or even approaching research?
Yeah. And I'll start with probably the most difficult, but once you get it, it makes
Mm-hmm.
it easy, is finding a topic. And this can be a novel case report, some weird and wonderful case.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the art in research is really to find something that's never been researched because that's how you're going to make the most impact. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's probably the most difficult thing to do, but that comes with time. As you read as a physician, you come across, managing a patient, there are some gray areas that are not yet well defined. And this is how you're able to find a topic. Okay, well, nobody knows how this drug impacts this thing in this patient. Maybe I could look into that. The second thing is I call it learning your ABCs. The ABCs of research is the language of how to write research. So in order for us to, you know, be great at language and grammar, we got to learn our ABCs. In order for us to be great at maths, we got to learn how to count. Same thing with
Mm-hmm.
research. The building block of research is learning how to write and how to convey what you want to say in a way that's scientific and that can come across well with the readers. Um, so it's learning how to write that language that takes practice. I usually recommend people who have no experience whatsoever to write a case report. So a case report is on the totem of research, evidence. It's at the bottom. And it's also the easiest one to conduct. Um, Basically what it is, it's a summary of a patient case, maybe a case you would have encountered, their treatment course, how you managed the patient, and what the conclusions were from you managing that case. It's the most simple way to conduct research is starting with a simple case report.
Mm-hmm.
Once you've sort of mastered that and the art of writing a case report, you could then build on that by then doing like a literature review where
Mm-hmm.
you get papers from all around on the same topic, and you synthesize all of the information from them into one cohesive paper. That would be the next step. So it's just like ABCs for language, numbers for maths. You got to start with a good topic and write a good case report.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I get you. That was that was clear. That was clear. But in the back of my mind, I'm also saying, are all research topics built the same? So my question to you now is, how do you know that a topic is research worthy or even a world class topic?
Yeah.
What is your mindset towards that, our approach to that?
Yeah, and that's a good question. And that is actually what separates the research that gets a lot of press coverage and goes all around the world from a research that basically stays on the table and nobody knows about it.
Mm,
The key ingredient there, bro, that brings
mhm.
it together, that like eggs make a cake fluff up,
Right.
novelty, bro. It has to be novel. Like it has one Shoff is a medical oncologist. He helped to actually prevent some of the chemotherapies that we have now today. And the guy is still alive. I
Hmm.
spoke with him and he concluded the same thing that I concluded is you want to do something great, you want your research to take off, be the first. Do something nobody's ever done before. And you need to come up with a topic that has never been researched. It's hard to do, but it's possible. There are a lot of topics out there never been researched. These are the projects that are going to go very far. Novelty is the key
No,
ingredient. Just like eggs make a cake rise, novelty, bro, is the key ingredient.
I get you.
Yeah.
Novelty is the key ingredient. Okay. Now you've mentioned that you've gotten your topic, it's new, cool, and you have a general or broad idea. How do you now focus on refining that to make it the perfect cake?
Yeah. And this is where teamwork comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
So when you see me as a researcher, behind me are even more amazing people, my team.
Mm-hmm.
In order to come up with an exceptional project, you need a great team. Literally, 4 or 5 minds are better than one. And if you go on most of the high impact research studies out there and you look at the author list, some of them have 20 people on the list, 15, 10. Your project is only going to be as great as your team. So the
Mm-hmm.
next step is to find a group of committed or dedicated people that
Mm-hmm.
could help you with different portions of your paper. For example, for the statistics of the paper, find a statistician. Most hospitals have a statistician, and you can reach out and say, hey, you want to come on board? They're more than happy to do that. Some people are great at synthesizing results and interpreting the results. So assign that section to somebody that's great at that. Um, Find a good mentor as well that's good at editing, because editing plays a big part in the paper as well. So you really need a strong team of committed persons, each of them good at their own craft, and
Mm-hmm.
collectively together as that team, you could
Mm-hmm.
accomplish anything. Almost like basketball. It's not a one-man show. Soccer, not a one-man show. It's a team effort.
You've noted the importance of having a great team, and you've also noted the importance of having a mentor, a great approach in terms of novelty, and also know putting that all together. As you rightly said, in order to bake a great cake, you have to have the key ingredients.
Yeah.
Now, I want to kind of step back and ask, okay, what does the process look like from you finding a topic? What do you do with it? Do, who do you speak to? Where where does your team come into play, and how do you go from start, which is the idea, to the
Mm,
process to the conclusion?
gotcha. Yeah. Good question. So the most important thing is to find somebody who's already conducted research. So I
Hmm.
have a lot of medical students that reach out to me. They've never conducted research. That is the correct step. Reach out to somebody who's done it.
Hmm.
In most clinical settings, it's usually a consultant or attending, or it could be a researcher. So that's the first step, reaching out to that person. That
Hmm.
person is then going to guide you on how to come up, not only with the question or refine your question, but refine your cohort. And I'll explain what a cohort is. So in the kind of research that I conduct, I usually compare cancer patients who are on these GLP medications, sometimes to cancer patients who are on other medications, or cancer patients who are on nothing, a placebo. And that's
Hmm.
what you call it, a retrospective cohort study. It's a cohort of patients,
Hmm.
those either exposed to the intervention or not exposed to the intervention. So that's the kind of research that I conduct. So in order to come up with that, you need an inclusion exclusion criteria, meaning these people need to have certain guidelines. For example, if you wanted to conduct research on GLP-1s in people who are older than 65, your inclusion criteria is going to be people who are over 65, people who are on a GLP-1. And you're
Mm-hmm.
going to need to basically create a mirror image of people who are over 65 and not on a GLP-1. And that is what we call your comparison cohort. That's just an example of a cohort study. All right. And
Right.
that's how you design that. But there are also other studies. There are clinical trials that use the same framework, but
Mm-hmm.
they follow patients starting from now in the present, going on in the future. That's very hard to conduct. The
Mm-hmm.
easiest is the retrospective study that I just spoke about, defining your cohort, defining your inclusion criteria, your exclusion criteria. You also asked about the next step in terms of how we synthesize the information, how we get
Right.
the info.
Yeah.
It's usually either through a database, where a hospital has a database of patients, where you collect that information from.
Mm-hmm.
And through that database, you need to get approval. It's called IRB approval.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to make this as simple as possible. In order for us to conduct research or experiments on people, we need to make sure that the research we're conducting is not going to harm them. Any such research would not be approved. And that's where the IRB comes from, the International Review Board. These are a group of people that are in each hospital and medical center that you take your proposal to, your topic, your inclusion exclusion criteria, the outcomes that you hope to achieve, whether or not you want to see if the drug makes people live longer, whatever it is. These are the people that are going to say, okay, yes, this is ethically appropriate. Ethics in medicine is the most important thing. The first aim of a physician is do no harm. So you
Right.
take it to the IRB for approval, and once it's approved, is the data collection phase. So you go in, you do a chart review, you look at patients that met your criteria, and you gather the information, their demographics, their age, that sort of thing. And you gather information on some of the outcomes that your study is looking at as well, and you write
Mm-hmm.
up the paper. It's
Mm-hmm.
very complex. I know it's very deep, it's very complex, but
No,
I promise you it's not as hard as it seems. It's just
right.
very time consuming. Yeah.
Mm, yeah. Just like I say, you need to ensure you have the right ingredients to get the outcome that you desire. So I can
Yeah.
imagine you have to make sure that each step is done properly and very
Yes.
intentionally.
Yeah.
Okay? What was the first thing that what was the first paper that you topic you ever published on?
Yeah, good question. So it was a systematic review on heparin-induced thrombocytopenia, which is a condition that patients who are exposed to heparin can get, where it basically causes them to develop blood clots. And by a systematic review, what that means is I looked at papers from all around the world on the topic, and I basically gathered all of those papers and I summarized the results from all of those papers in a systematic way. That's what a systematic review is. So it's basically a summary of all of the evidence out there, but in one
Right.
paper.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Summary. Got you. So you've given us the first steps, you've given us the process, you've given us the ingredients, the key ingredients for world-class research. Now, what separates publishable research from a almost there research? What is like at the end stage? What makes it okay? This for sure, this is good. Versus now, you need to go back to the drawing board and look at that.
Yeah. It's called refinement. So we going back to the cake story, bro, because I'm trying to simplify it. So
Right.
once that cake is baked and it's out of the oven, the
Mm-hmm.
next step is to put the icing on the cake, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got
Right.
the ice in the cake. If you want sprinkles on the cake, you throw sprinkles on the cake. You basically fix it so that the cake looks really good. So it
Right.
appeases the eye so that people will want to eat it. That's
Mm.
refinement. In research, the refinement process is something called peer review. What that means is after you've written your paper and you've
Right.
met with all of your co-authors, everybody that contributed to the paper on your team, and you say, hey guys, I think we have a good paper that we've written, you then submit it to a medical journal. And there are hundreds of medical journals out there. The most prestigious ones are in cancer, Journal of Clinical Oncology, JAMA. I'm not sure if you ever heard about JAMA, JAMA Network. There's the Lancet as well.
Mhm.
And there are many, many other journals. So
Right.
these journals basically are a team of experts in the field that you submit your paper to, and they do what we call peer review. What that means is they put your paper under a magnifying glass and they pick
Mhm.
out all of the errors, anywhere from grammatical errors, statistical errors, poor wording, incorrect citations. So these are the people that basically choose your paper apart and spits it out.
Mhm.
The reason why you want this peer review process is because you need to make sure that the information that you
Mhm.
wish to be published is correct. Why? Any incorrect information could potentially lead to possible approval of a medication that does not work and the patients don't benefit and actually causes more harm than good. So the peer reviewers are the gatekeepers in medicine. They make
Mhm.
sure that the information that you are presenting to people out there, patients, doctors, researchers, is accurate and it's impactful. And that's the peer review process. That can take months, bro. Like it could take months of that. It could actually take multiple cycles of that where you submit
Mhm.
your paper, they send you edits, submit it again, they send you more edits, you submit again, more edits until that paper is refined into an amazing cake.
Got you.
Publication. And publication is the end product of that cake where people
Mhm.
cut into it and they consume it.
Enjoy.
They enjoy it. Yeah.
So, have you ever experienced rejection in a peer review, saying, "Hey, this paper doesn't look too good. You need to probably do something else."
Yeah. Many times. More rejections than acceptance.
Mm.
You have to fail in this field of research in order to succeed. And I've been rejected many times. And I never forget. So historically in research, there are three peer reviewers that give you feedback on your article. And there's a peer reviewer number two, historically known to be very critical,
Mhm.
savage. So one peer reviewer told me their statement was this author clearly does not have English as his first language because I had maybe like four grammatical errors. That is what peer reviewer two told me. Um, those are the kind of words that hurt like your ego because this is not what you want to hear after you've spent 6 months writing a paper that you've reviewed with your team. But it's the kind of feedback that you need to use to make you better. Constructive criticism,
Builds character.
build character.
Wow,
It's a ruthless process, bro. It's ruthless, but
I can
it's
imagine.
enjoyable in the end when it's published.
But I wanted to dig a little bit deeper on that. The process of handling that rejection. How did that make you feel, and how do you keep pushing to becoming from average to okay to world class?
Yeah. And so that comes with failures, but also accepting constructive criticism. So
Mm-hmm.
in research and in medicine, as healthcare professionals, we should always aim to be better than we were yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if somebody brings a suggestion to us that could potentially make things better, as a leader, you should be open to that suggestion. There's this famous quote that says, "You cannot lead without following." The same thing in research. You have to be able to take the losses. You have to be able to accept the negative critiques before you can get to the next level. And it's all a part of the process. You just go through the process, and it'll turn out in your favor in the end. I always tell people this.
Mm-hmm. So, give us a rundown on what comes after the publishing.
Yeah. So after the publishing, it's probably I would say it's one of the happiest days of your life because it's almost like defending a thesis where you wrote this paper for 6 months, almost a year later, and it's now getting published. For big papers, it it could really be career changing because the journal, if it's a really good paper, they are going to promote your paper for free advertisement. So a
Mm-hmm.
big paper such as JAMA. which has millions of readers worldwide. They're gonna publish it on their X handle, Twitter.
Mm,
You're gonna see it on Facebook. You're gonna see it on the JAMA page, and it's gonna get immediate buzz. So the journal will actually promote your research for you. And that's the most exciting part, seeing people read it, seeing news outlets reach out to you after reading it, wanting to do interviews,
mm,
wanting to do shows, wanting to do
mm,
live TV broadcasts. And, at the end of the day, they would not have known what you went through, but you knew what you went through.
mm.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the biggest mind shift changes you had to undergo in order to get where you are now?
Mind shift changes. So I think for me, it was me having to understand and tell myself, even though I feel like I was a good writer and good researcher, I had to convince myself that I was not.
Hmm.
Clearly, there are people out there who've been doing this for decades. They know the language, they know what's important, they know what's a novel paper. Yes, you believe in your paper, but simply by believing in your paper doesn't mean your paper is novel or excellent. Um, so for me, it was learning to accept rejection and not accept rejection and say, hey, that's the end of it, but using that rejection sort of to motivate me to want to achieve something greater. My first paper was not a novel paper. Um, and so after I conducted a paper, for me, the next thing was, okay, how can I be better? How can I make it better? How can I top this paper? And for
Right.
me, that was the mind change of what I had to learn. Try to be better than my last paper.
Mm. Always trying to do better than
Your
your
last.
your last. Mm.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
And it's also humbling because now you always have to remember I can do better,
Yeah.
even when you're at the top. And I guess that's
Yeah.
also a weight that world-class leaders, no matter what area you're in, is always that you have to be better than your yesterday.
That's correct. I mean, even in professional sports, I'm telling you,
Hmm.
Serena Williams, she made this known. Like, amazing tennis player, probably the greatest female tennis player of all time. Every
Hmm.
day she was on the grind. Kobe Bryant sometimes came in like an hour before practice, before everybody else. And he said the same thing. He had to be better than he was the day before. It's that kind of mentality that separates people who will achieve great things in life from the average Joe. Is
Absolutely.
you cannot be complacent and you cannot be content with where you're at in life. And that's what I always tell people. The moment you become complacent, the moment that you become content is when things are going to fall off. So always strive to be better every day. Even as a Christian, I tell people this. Yeah, we love God and we want to honor God. Be better
Right.
tomorrow. And then the day after that, be better and be better and be better.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
That's deep.
Yeah, man.
What motivates you to keep curious, to always ask questions? Like, I can imagine how difficult that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. What keeps you going?
Knowing my purpose. God created each of us with a purpose and a plan. And for me as a Christian, I want to go out there. I'm not only performing for my patients, but
Hmm.
I'm performing for my master, the person
Hmm.
who has called me into this field. He has not called me to be complacent. He's not called me to be mediocre. God has said I can achieve great things through him. So it's my calling that keeps me curious, knowing that God has called me to serve an amazing group of people who have terminal cancer and terminal illness. And it's that sort of drives me to want to continue to be curious, to want to continue to produce groundbreaking research. Really, that is what drives me, knowing that this is the purpose God has for my life. And at the end of the day, when I die, I want to be able to say, God, I gave him my all.
Powerful stuff. Powerful. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely cooking, my guy. Now, just to sum everything up nicely, for the person who wants to start research today, what 5 simple steps would you advise?
Okay. 5 simple steps. One, find a mentor. That's the first thing.
Mm-hmm.
Two, find a novel topic, something that's never been discovered or studied before, or something where there's a gray area or not well researched.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Three, surround yourself with a team of experts that could assist with your paper. Four, a rejection is not a closed door for forever. Keep opening the door until your door opens. All right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Five, stay humble. When your paper is published, stay humble.
Mm-hmm.
Don't don't get lost in the fluff or in the prestige and all the media interviews. Nah, stay humble and remember where you came from, why you're doing what you're doing, and what you want to accomplish in the future. Those are the 5 things I would say.
That was beautifully said. I think that can also be applied to life in general.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
No, that was great. Wow. Ah, you have definitely impacted my mind in regards to research as I look at it differently, not only from the standpoint of medical research, but even just from my day to day as I go deeper in business, as I go deeper in also just relationships. Like, how can I stay curious? How can I show up better? How can I deliver world class performance in even not just the big thing, but also the little things, you know? So, yeah, I think it was a great conversation, bro.
Absolutely, man. It was a pleasure as always. Hopefully looking forward, to more collaborations as, life goes on and wishing you the best as well.
Of course, bro, of course. And of course, guys, we thank you so much for just listening in. We hope this was impactful for you. And of course, remember to like, subscribe, and send it to somebody who might be starting out their residency program, who might be starting their first publication in terms of doing research, or who might just be thinking of going into medicine or research. I think it's an important skill to build, and it doesn't only stay within medicine, it also is applied to the different aspects of your life, as Colton would have just explained. So thank you so much, and join us on the next episode. Be blessed. Take care of yourself. Bless out. Pow!